Hello, I'm Donna and I'm from Make Sense Psychotherapy, and this is my second video for the Raising Teens in Lockdown site. So what I want to look at briefly today is how the stress and worry of our current circumstance might be affecting our feelings and behaviour, particularly around our role as parents and carers. So the first thing to remember, also mentioned in the first video, is how when we are really stressed and worried, we cannot think clearly. We don't access our thinking brain. Now, what that does to our feelings and behaviour is it can make us feel really negative and cause us to behave as if everything is horrendous. It's also quite a polarising thing to do to our feelings and emotions, because it makes us feel that we're either managing fantastically or not managing at all, and it's all going horribly wrong. And of course we miss out what generally is the reality somewhere in between. So if you're aware that you're feeling quite negatively about yourself at the moment, that you're really giving yourself an internal kick at not being good enough, whatever good enough looks like at the moment, just be conscious that that might be coming from a stressed, worried mind. So go back to the first video, do some breathing, calm everything down, and then give yourself the opportunity to think, I am just doing the best I can in a situation that I've never been in before. I'm not causing harm, I'm just doing the best I can. So just remember that. The second thing I'd ask you to think about is how many times a day at the moment you are hearing the word should in your mind. So it's not just that we get negative feelings about ourselves and our circumstances, but we get very rigid in our thinking about how things should be. Now, what I would say to that is, you should be doing what? We don't have a template for this situation right now. We have never been in this situation. So we can't respond by saying, well, you know, the last time I was in lockdown, I was managing so much better than I am now. We've never been here before. This is brand new for everybody. So just be really conscious of the expectations that you're loading yourself with, and maybe loading the young people in your house with. Are they realistic at the moment? And instead of thinking should, possibly, maybe we could do this, maybe we could try that. This is brand new, and allow yourself to think more flexibly about it. When we have too many shoulds in our vocab, it narrows down the possibility and it shuts down our thinking. So enable some flexibility of thinking rather than have too many shoulds. Shoulds are a stick we hit ourselves with generally. The third thing I would ask you to think about and be aware of is that when we are in a challenging and crisis situation, what we tend to do is try and control things. Now that makes sense. When things outside of our remit and outside of our environment feel out of control, it's understandable that our go-to response would be to control something. Now, in some ways, this is a useful response, because it may be that actually you've got a real sense of routine in your day, that you've got a real sense of structure going on, and that actually we know that routine and structure are immensely important for managing and helping our emotional well-being. So if that's where your control has gone to, then that's great. When it becomes less helpful is when we are tempted to try and control other people, particularly the young people in our house. Now, we know that we can't actually control anybody but ourselves. We can only control our own response to the situation. So I'd be really conscious of how you might be trying to control the things that your young people are doing. You can advise, you can ask, but you can't control. And if that's what you're trying to do, be mindful that you might be bringing up much more conflict in your house than is really needed right now. You want the least amount of conflict going on as possible, especially in a locked down, shut down environment. The last thing I would ask you to remember is that although this truly bizarre situation has flung loads of people into what feels like a teaching role with their young people, you're not teachers. Or maybe some of you are, but generally you won't be teachers. So just be their supporters. Try and work together as a team. You're not there to enforce what they would have been doing in a normal school day. There is no normal school day at the moment. Teachers themselves are in a brand new situation and they're just trying to work out the best way of staying connected with their students. And of course, for as many schools there are in the country, there'll be different ways for trying to manage this particular environment. So there is no one way. So don't try and enforce something right now. Be their supporter, not their enforcer. Work together as a team. Encourage them to go back to their teaching staff to get the help that they need. Don't feel that you have to know all of the answers. None of the teachers that I know are expecting parents to suddenly be biologists or chemists or mathematicians. Encourage them to go back to their teachers if they're enabled to do that. Via email, I know some people are doing Google Classroom, so there is a live element to it. But don't feel that you need to take that upon yourself, because that will just cause more stress and tension. The thing around learning at the moment is that it's about giving a purpose and a structure to the day of the young people. This is not about academic excellence. This is about staying connected with a level of learning and potentially staying connected with their peers and with their teachers if that's the way their schools are working. Encourage your young people to maybe FaceTime friends or WhatsApp friends and stay in contact with them. How are you managing that work? What did you do for this? I couldn't find that on whatever email it was meant to be on. Where did you get hold of it? Encourage that collaboration and connection. And maybe you yourself as parents and carers want to get some groups together. I mean, that's why this Facebook site is so good, because you can get a sense of, I am not alone in this. Everybody else hasn't magically got an answer, and I'm just doing the best I can. So be conscious of that negative thinking. Be conscious that it's probably coming from a very stressed and worried brain. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the shoulds. Step back on the control and be a supporter, not an enforcer. Take care.